Before the Star Wars prequels were released, fans latched onto this idea that Obi-Wan Kenobi would die in the prequels, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi we met in A New Hope was actually a clone, OB1. The implication being there was also an OB2, OB3, etc. Google shows me one of the earliest mentionings of this on the internet was in 2008, though it may have been crawling around earlier than that. The hard thing about writing a prequel is that when watching the original story, the audience has forged their own opinions on what happened before this story. The prequels need to be better than what they expected. No easy task. Imagine you're watching a Star Wars prequel. Our heroes have their backs against the wall, but the audience trusts this Ben Kenobi kid is safe. He was alive in A New Hope, so there's no way anything bad can happen to him. Then, wablam, he dies. We find out the Galactic Republic's plan to fight against these undefeatable odds. They have superhuman monks with laser swords, one of whom can take on a squadron by himself. Why not use this cloning technology to reproduce that? This would open a can of worms. Is Obi-Wan from A New Hope virtually a different person than Ben Kenobi? Different personalities, different methods of fighting? Did the rest of the Jedi Order despise these clones? We recognize you were brought into this world to help end this war, but we do not recognize you as an actual part of this order. Did the original recipe Ben Kenobi ever meet Anakin Skywalker? Did Ben Kenobi train Anakin some, then he dies and Obi-Wan takes up his training? Darth Vader and Moff Tarkin refer to him as Obi-Wan, so if you did this, the clone would have been Anakin's old friend and teacher. At least one version of this theory stipulates Obi-Wan went into hiding and took up the name of his genetic predecessor, Ben Kenobi, to stay under the Empire's radar. This makes about as much sense as it did in the movies we got. If you're hiding from the Empire, why change your first name but not change your last name? What deflates this theory for me is Force ghosts. In Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Luke speaks with the ghost of his fallen mentor. If Luke's friend was a clone of a Jedi who died years before he was born, then do clones have souls? I don't have a problem with it, but it raises more questions than it answers. If a clone of a Jedi is able to Skype with their pupils from beyond the grave, where's the original Jedi's ghost? Maybe he has no vested interest in what's going on. He never met Luke. He would have as much reason to talk with him as Plo Koon would. But are there multiple Obi-Wan Kenobis running around Jedi heaven? If the non-clone Jedi despise their clone brethren, that's going to be an awkward afterlife. I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I think it could have worked, but you'd need to be careful how you do it. And not to kick a trilogy that's been kicked many times, but if they tried this, I don't think they would have made it work. Two things you need to keep in mind when doing a prequel. Does this enhance or edify the original story, and is this a good story on its own? I'm just barely scratching the surface on what could have been done, but if you want to dig deep into the moral grayness of the Star Wars universe, this could have provided mountains of potential for interesting stories on their own. Would this have changed the context of the original trilogy? Probably not. That's not necessarily a bad thing. All Obi-Wan is in A New Hope is a mentor who pushes the protagonist onto the road of the story. He can be born of a woman, or he can be a test tube baby everybody hated. His purpose in the original trilogy would be the same. I can't speak for everyone though. I once talked to someone who is a much bigger fan of the prequels than I am, and he hated the Obi-Wan theory. Maybe this would have ruined Star Wars for some people. Who knows? I don't have anything deep or profound to say here. I, for one, still like entertaining what could have been with this fun idea that stuck with a small part of the fandom over decades. But what do you guys think? Whether you like it or not, may the Force be with you.